Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and as some of you may know, I'm a Persian American half-breed, and as such, I have read an awful lot of memoirs and things about not just Iran, but actually the whole Middle East. So today I'm going to share some of those awesome Middle East memoirs with you all in a video. Obviously, this is a video. In case you didn't know, this is a video, you guys. So the first book I'm going to talk about is An Enduring Love by Farah Pahlavi. And if you don't know, Farah Pahlavi was the wife of the last Shah of Iran. And fun fact, she is still alive. She's 77. So really quick Persian history lesson here. So the last Shah of Iran was Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, and he was the second one in a two-person dynasty that took over from the previous dynasty that had been there for like 150 years. And basically he did everything that the United States told him to do, which turned out to not be a very good thing. And then he got overthrown in a big fat revolution and left and went to the United States and died of cancer in 1980s. So anyway, this woman on the cover was his wife and queen. And in this memoir, she talks about basically her life being married to the Shah, like before and after. And what's really interesting is that she was an ordinary person. Like, she was not any kind of nobility whatsoever. She was a perfectly ordinary citizen of Iran who just happened to meet the king and fall in love with him and things. So it's really fascinating. So of course this book is a little bit biased because of course she thinks that like everything that the Shah did was so good and blah blah blah, when I'm sure a lot of people would disagree. But this book has some really great photos in it and everything too. So if you're more interested in seeing what Iran is like right now, there are other books about that portray that a little bit better, but this talks a lot more about the revolution and before that. And then when she gets into the parts about after the revolution, she kind of talks more about like, because she wasn't in Iran after the revolution. But in my humble opinion, I think that this is probably, if you're looking for a memoir about Iran to read, this is probably the best one that you can find. It's super good the whole way through, and I really like it. Next we have Reading Lolita in Tehran by Azar Nafisi, and this is about a teacher who decides to read books that are banned in Iran, like actually banned, like forbidden from being read there, with a bunch of students. So basically it's about a bunch of students who are all women and everything who read things like Lolita and other things that they're not actually allowed to read in Iran, which is really interesting. So this is a really well-known memoir, which is partly why I bring it up. But I do think the writing sometimes suffers in that she'll bring up, like, for example, a certain person and then not talk about them again for 200 pages and then expect you to remember who they are 200 pages later. All of that. So in some ways it's not as good, but it is really informative for something, if you're looking for something that's really that really portrays today's Iran really well. Next we have Persepolis by Marjan Satrapi, and this is a graphic novel this is a graphic memoir about her journey, her childhood in Iran, and then her parents kind of sending her abroad when like Iran gets too dangerous and all of that. This is a really good graphic novel. It's really quick to read, and the art style is really cute. It does a good job of portraying Iran today, and like any memoir, it has a lot of really interesting stories in it, like her parents smuggling a Metallica poster into Iran because she wants a Metallica poster. It's really interesting, and I highly recommend this one. We are now leaving Iran and going to Afghanistan with Kabul Beauty School by Deborah Rodriguez. And Deborah Rodriguez was basically sent to Afghanistan to help people. And she ended up being like practically the only one in her group who wasn't like a doctor, something like that. But instead, she is a hairdresser. And so she thought, wait, why did they agree to like me going? I'm a hairdresser. What am I doing here? But then as soon as her group introduces her to as a hairdresser, everyone like stands up, applauds, and they're like, "Thank you. Thank you for being here. Can I please get a haircut? There's nowhere in Afghanistan to get a haircut. And anywhere that there is gives me lice and blah blah blah." So she basically ends up starting a beauty school in Afghanistan to help women like learn how to do people's hair and do it safely and sanitarily and all of this stuff. And basically because in Afghanistan and probably a lot of countries, only women can cut women's hair and men can cut men's hair. So basically, it ended up being a really good opportunity for women to have a good job and be entrepreneurs and everything. And it's a profession where their husbands, if they have like a bossy husband, he can't just show up and be like, "This isn't how you run a business, this is what you should do instead." So this is a really, really interesting book for sure. She also wrote a fictional version I think it's called A Cup of Friendship. And that one's about a cafe, kind of, instead of a hair salon, but it's sort of based on her own experiences, but not really at the same time. But this one I think is the better of the two, just because it is a true story the whole way through, and some of the stuff that happens to a lot of the people in it really make you think about like this is what's going on in the real world, and it's insane. And finally, here's a book I talked about in my monthly recommendations video, and that is Princess by Jean Sasson. And this is the memoir of a princess in Saudi Arabia named Princess Sultana, and I believe she's the niece of the current ruler of Saudi Arabia. And I did already talk about a lot about this in my monthly recommendations video, so I'll leave that link down below in case you want to see my further thoughts on this. But this is such a good book. It's seriously one of my favorite memoirs out there. It's really the only, like this and its two sequels are really the only things I've read about Saudi Arabia, I think. And it talks about all kinds of different issues, but mostly the laws that are in place to like keep women from being all promiscuous, I guess, that kind of just end up backfiring, to be honest. And so some of the stuff that happens in this book are like a little bit horrifying, and actually pretty horrifying. So anyway, those are my favorite Middle East memoirs. Let me know if you have any Middle East memoirs you would like to recommend in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!